Hi, welcome to Digital Garden Tokyo. I'm here with Paul Blagbrough, Principal Consultant at ERM. Paul, pretty sure I just butchered your last name, but we're literally just about to kick off the conference. Hasn't even started yet. What brings you here? Like, what are you looking to learn at Digital Garden?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this because looking at the list of speakers, there's some of the best people from different data center companies in Japan. So I know Padraig and then Mozan, and so there's a lot of good companies with a lot of good experience. So really I'm here to learn and understand what's the latest going on in the industry. Japan, data center wise, is really growing. So there's lots of new things happening, but there's lots of struggles with finding sites, with finding staff and different things. So I'm trying to really get an understanding of what's going on from the experts in the field.
Well, tell us how ERM kind of plays into that booming data center industry that you've identified in Japan.
Yeah, so ERM's a consulting company, and we actually help data centers when they're looking for sites. We help them find ones that are environmentally sustainable. We look at potential pollution problems, flood risks, community issues and things. We also then do noise pollution and air control side of things. Once they have a site, we can provide EHS construction support as well. And in particular, some of the international hyperscalers are looking for OSHA, which is an American standard, but they want that used in Japan. So we have staff that can help with that. But we're also working with green buildings, so LEED, well certification, zero waste, a lot of different sustainability things as well. And then more recently, we've started helping with renewable energy, which is obviously a big issue for data centers as well.
So would you say that there's like one sustainability issue that like you see more in Japan than you see elsewhere, or something that's like top of the list for Japanese data centers, or do you think it really depends on like the specific site, and that kind of influences what sustainability issue is like most pressing for that company?
So I think some of the Japanese data center developers haven't really considered sustainability until maybe in the last couple of years, but now they've realized that a lot of their tenants are interested in it, so actually it's something that they're really developing. They're trying to work out what their footprint is. They're trying to understand what can they do on a data center to actually make it more sustainable. Obviously power is a big issue. If you can get renewable energy, then that helps and it keeps the price constant, but getting renewable energy in Japan is quite difficult.
Right.
Green building, green certification is a bit of a challenge because data centers tend to just be big grey blocks. But at the same time, there's a lot that can be done to make the place nicer and interact with the community, which makes it more sustainable.
Yeah, definitely. And what about water use? That's I think like another kind of big like sustainability topic that we see globally. Really, is that something in Japan that there's a particular focus on right now? Or
so water is an interesting one because a lot of the data, although Japan is hot a lot of the time, it's also not hot for most of the year. So most of the data centers we've seen actually use economizers, so they get free cooling. But then when they need water, they need quite a significant amount of water. And then there's a potential with AI that they're going to need even more water for cooling as well. So it's becoming an issue, it's something they're looking at. It's we've interacted a lot with the water companies to try to help them work out solutions. It's difficult in Japan. Getting recycled water is quite hard. Finding projects that can help them with reclaimed water is also quite difficult, but we've worked on some of those issues with some of the data center companies.
And just going back to your point around kind of like integrating facilities more within like the local community, I feel like this is something that we've seen a lot more of, specifically in like the US, as there's been like a bit of a backlash against these like gigawatt campuses popping up all over the place. So yeah, I guess like from a Japanese standpoint, is there a lot of like community pushback against data centers, or is it something that's kind of like starting to emerge as like the sites are getting bigger, or something that's not really like kind of popped up that much?
So I think initially there wasn't too much pushback, and what's happened is a lot of the data centers are being built in older communities, and those older citizens are quite well organized as a community. And I think once they've realized most data centers are like 5 stories, grey blocks, not a lot of jobs created necessarily either, but now they're starting to push back a lot more. And so I know some data centers that are operational have got issues with noise and complaints. When we've done community surveys beforehand, like as in Japan, a lot of the buildings are very close. So some buildings are right up to the boundary. and they're not happy about the noise and just the big grey walls that are in there. So I think it's a big issue for Japan going forward, or data centres in Japan, is how do they interact better with the community and provide something that works better for them.
Why do you think they're being built in these like older communities or older residential areas? Aren't there like better spaces to build a data centre than like right up against some more Japanese pensioners backyard?
Right. The challenge in Japan is space. It's actually easier to find money for a data centre than to find space for a data centre.
Right.
So what happens is when the industrial areas from the 50s and the 60s, which are now closing down, they're the perfect place to start building your data centres. But because of the way Japan's planning is, often you'll have an industrial area and then butting up to it you'll have a community. And they tend to be the older communities because it's the poorer areas. So you've got that. Like, very rarely is it built, like Inzai maybe is a big industrial estate, but in most cases where they're building the data centres are actually within communities or mixed communities.
Okay.
So it's definitely a challenge going forward.
Paul, thank you very much for chatting with us. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you for your time.
And you can check out thetechcapital.com for more news, views and industry insights.